just got back from a walk, got some coffee, dropped off a couple of hacky sack orders at the post office. So if you ordered one from me, they're on their way. And then I found a park and I kicked the bag around. I rolled a little rope, I juggled as well, but the hacky sack was calling me today. And whenever that's the case, I typically get some pretty creative thoughts afterwards. It's a very present practice for me, something that requires my full attention, requires my focus, and I'm constantly, whether it's conscious or just automatic, I'm consciously connecting with my internal environment, connecting with myself and how I'm relating to the external environment. And in this case, there's more specificity, right? So there's a specific task at hand. There's a specific object in terms of the hacky sack. So I'm kicking the bag around. I've got to be aware of my surroundings. There is the task of just keeping the bag off the ground. It is super windy today, so that was another factor in the environment. And one that was cool to play off of. Sometimes it was frustrating, but other times I was able to kind of like kick into the wind and then like receive the bag from the wind. So, creativity comes up when you're interacting with that external environment. I should have prefaced this. I'm talking a lot about hacky sack, but this applies to anything. It really does apply to anything. So if you're like, this doesn't apply to me, I'm not into hacky sack, well, it does. What are the benefits of hacky sack, right? So like I've had conversations with other fitness coaches and they're like, oh, the hacky sack, that must be so good for balance and hand-eye coordination or foot-eye coordination, so good for hip mobility, all this different stuff. That's true, right? I'm not here to refute that, right? Those are things that have come out of my mouth plenty of times in terms of articulating the benefits and also trying to convince some people as to why they might want to play hacky sack. So whatever sort of task you're doing, since we talked about hip mobility, let's roll with that. So hip mobility, right? If I'm in the gym and I'm doing some hip mobility exercises, right? Why am I doing those? Okay, let's come up with some reasons, right? So one would be like, to mobilize my hips. We could get into some more specificity as like, I need to increase my external range of motion. I need to increase my internal rotation. And you can do all this work to connect with those specific results or those specific things you're chasing. And in reality, what you're doing here is projecting yourself onto those little things. So your hip mobility, right? In an area where you feel you are lacking, you need to devote some sort of work there in order to be enough, in order to be complete. If I'm working on something to improve my hip mobility, if I replace that to become more of who I am, because it's already in there, you just got to find a way to awaken it, access it, and then ingrain it on a consistent basis so it becomes you. It's already there. If I invest my energy into becoming more of me, that stuff is already implied. I don't need to focus on it. I don't need to say, oh, I do this because it's improving my hip mobility. I know that. Take it to the next level. Take it to something that's way bigger that allows you to really tap into yourself. You're just looking to become more of who you are. And when we show up with that sort of intention, for me personally, I'm able to get out of those details, get out of that self-judgment, that negative self-talk, that lack. Hey, I need to fix myself. Hey, this is asymmetrical, so something must be wrong with me, and I need to put in this work so I'm no longer damaged, or I'm no longer dealing with this trauma, or I'm no longer dealing with this injury. The way out is honestly not focusing on that. The way out is focusing on what you are building, who you are becoming. When you put your energy there, that really drives your intent. That drives your focus on what you're building when you show up for something. You're not running from something like, oh, this hip injury, I've got to fix this hip injury. Oh, this shoulder, I've got to fix this shoulder. And I'm not saying like go out and do the splits. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying act as if this never happened, right? You've got to acknowledge that, but also recognize the way out is not fixating on it, is not attaching yourself to it, is not trying to like own it. You've got to be able to let it go. And the only way we do that is by shifting our focus onto something that is much more meaningful, is something that we can really invest our energy in. And that requires us getting a ton of accuracy on what we want. Not what I'm telling you you should want, not what anybody else on these platforms is telling you you should want. Is there a good starting point? Good place to get some ideas? But you got to decide for yourself. You got to get accuracy on what's important to you and then fully invest all your energy into that. And that's how you're going to overcome this shit. That's how you're going to move past injuries, past these limitations that you're setting for yourself. I don't know if this is like coming across as just like a weird ass rant. Maybe something that's really resonating with you. It certainly resonates with me. I just moved creatively. I tapped into my style, myself, my energy, not focusing on all this other shit that doesn't really matter. And now I'm talking to you from a creative place. I'm sharing these observations, these downloads, if you will. I know this rant's not going to be for everybody, but it certainly could be if you're ready and willing to view things from a different perspective. And if you're not, but you've chosen to watch this, I really appreciate it. And at some point, it may really click and this material may resonate. Maybe not, right? But I at least want to put it out there because I feel charged up. I feel like myself. I feel like I can hop on the camera right now and just riff without feeling like I need to be some YouTube personality or some Instagram influencer. So I continue to feel more into that. I intend to show up as that person. And through that intention, I can get more and more comfortable with myself. Get more and more confident with myself, trust my experience, trust the sensations I'm feeling in my body, trust the movements that resonate with me, that make me feel more alive. If you enjoyed this rant, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you gathered from it. If this resonates, I'd love to hear from you. See you next time. Stay smooth.